You are listening to Revealing Real Estate Podcast, where we dive into getting over your fear of taking risk in real estate and making money while you sleep. I'm Nico Pedizano, your host and real estate guru with over 20 years of experience. It's time to get real.
Well, I'd like to welcome back to the show a gentleman who's a very special guest for the third time, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. He's a licensed professional engineer with an interest in projects in the residential and commercial sectors in the Nashville area, specializing in structure and drainage inspections and design. He also has a podcast host of Superhero by Design, as well as the author of the book Superhero by Design. Please welcome Ace Hagerty to the show. Ace, welcome back for the third time on the show, but high demand. You've been requested to come back on the show, and it's a pleasure to have you back.
Well, it is an absolute pleasure and an honor on this side as well, Nick. So I really appreciate you having me back on. And I'm excited we waited a little bit because even from the last time we had spoken, a lot of things are changing, a lot of things are moving. And I think there's no better time to get people in the right mindset, get people in the right frame of focus and drive so that we can continue doing what we're doing. That's, achieve financial freedom and live the life of our dreams.
Yeah, and it's very important that you bring that up. It's something that I've been working with in myself every day within my journey of life to just always make sure that I'm mentally strong and have a right mindset daily as I we all enter into difficult markets as well, and making sure that it's always focused in what you're putting out into the universe is going to be some good positive energy, right? Waking up every day and being joyful and creating your own happiness and understanding that one way or another, what you put out will come back, and making sure that if you put out that positive energy within the world, or that love and peacefulness that you're looking to expect within your life, I think that it'll rebound back to you tenfold, and I think those are really important, essential, key elements for my success moving forward that I'm working on within myself personally, so that life is a growing process, and you learn every single day. And I was a big pusher for many years, and I've been in the real estate game for about 20 years now, and I pushed really hard, and it was all about the hustle, and my mindset was always more focused in on, okay, when I'm slow or markets have changed, and pivoting is like, okay, I felt like I needed to do more all the time, right? And I don't know if
Right.
you go through or you went through the same thing, but mindset is a very powerful tool here.
Oh yeah. I don't think it's a secret right now that interest rates have skyrocketed over the past year, and that's affecting so many different sectors of real estate right now. Before we got on the show, you had mentioned long-term rentals that you have up in Canada. For me personally, I'm in the short-term game down here in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
and both of us are experiencing things that we have not necessarily experienced in the last 15 or so years. We've been on this great run for so long, but anybody that studies any sort of financial history, markets, things like that, everything goes in a cycle. And it's hard to predict what kind of cycle this is going to be, because when we started COVID, people thought things were going to crash, and the world was temporarily shut down, and a lot of crazy things happened as we were reopening. But at the same time, change is inevitable. And if you acknowledge that and understand that, we don't know what things are going to change to, but if we keep doing the same things that we've been doing day in and day out, and I'm not talking about morning rituals and habits and things like that, those are a must, and those should be a mainstay in your life. However, when you're playing in the financial game or the real estate game, the rules do change. The stakes change. What worked yesterday might not necessarily work today, and probably will not work tomorrow. So you got to be aware of what's going on. Stay focused on reality, not fear. This isn't fear. Change can be fearful, but change is the one constant that we have. And so yeah, I'm totally down to get into the weeds of change and pivot and all of that. But to your point, like, it is all about mindset. 80% of what we do is psychology, and then the remaining 20% is just mechanics at that point. So if you have that 80%, doing your morning rituals that I always talk about,
Mhm.
doing those things that put your mind right, that puts your energy right, that puts your focus right. If you're doing that every day, then the 20% isn't going to be that difficult, because you're going to be in the right frame of mind, have the right focus, and have the right energy to do whatever it takes to get through this time. Because what we're going through right now is going to happen over and over again, unless you want to win the lottery. And we know in real estate, you can have some pretty big deals and make some good money, but it's not like win the lottery and go home and hasta la vista, be done with it. That's not reality. If you're in this game, you're in this game for the long haul, even as a passive investor, because things will always change.
Yeah, and you make up some really good points on that, and let's talk about markets there right now. Right now, the Bank of Canada just yesterday announced that they are going to hold the overnight rate. We are currently on a variable rate here in on this part of America. We are currently sitting at around 7% interest rate. We haven't seen these rates, and I haven't seen these rates since I've been licensed as a realtor and an investor within the Toronto market itself. It has made a drastic change in our markets, where we've removed a lot of the investor out of the play, the long-term hold investor who's always looking to buy something for at least a minimum of 5 years, generate that income. Majority of properties use the cash flow. Today, now there's a negative cash flow on majority of these investments. A lot of these investors right now are having difficulty supporting those payments, even though those properties are rented out and they're just receiving that income. It's costing them out of pocket money today, and the struggles are starting to happen. The calls are coming in on that aspect, and I think that if interest rates do continue to climb here, we are going to see a lot more of those power sales or distress sales that are going to start occurring within the market itself. And it's starting to feel like that rope is just going to start to break. What's it like over there in Nashville, Tennessee? And are you guys seeing similar markets right now? I know you do a lot of the short-term rental Airbnb. I don't do much of it. Wanted to something to get into it, but I feel like over here we're seeing a very big saturated market when it comes to the Airbnb cycle, where we are not seeing. There's a lot of supply out there, but the demand is not there as it once was. What are you
Yeah,
seeing
yeah,
over there?
I agree with you 100%. I would say, as far as my specific market in Nashville, it's a very big touristy market. It's similar to, let's say, like your Austin or Dallas or Atlanta, places like that, dense population, lots of tourist attractions, things like that.
I hear it's a great time over
Yeah,
there.
it is a fun time. But what I've seen, so in the intro, you said I'm a structural engineer. And
Mhm.
so I still do that from time to time. I love doing that. I don't spend a lot of time doing that, but I get a really high dollar per hour that I charge for my services. And I've come up with some pretty creative ways too, which also is a good fallback for me if I find myself financially or cash flow in a pinch. And not going into the details of it, but I work with a lot of big builders here in town, because I'm a builder, I'm an investor, and I'm an engineer. Like, I'm like the perfect storm for a lot of these big builders, because they want to cut costs, save money, but they don't want to deal with the typical engineer. So I say all that because a lot of the contractors I work for are just building either hundreds or thousands of houses around here in the greater Middle Tennessee area. And what I'm finding with people like that is, a lot of them, yes, are doing spec homes. They're doing little suburban communities and things like that, but they're also building short-term rentals wherever they can. And so what I've found just in the past year, specifically here in my market, we have had a huge increase of supply for short-term rentals, but not a huge increase in demand of tourism. Tourism, I believe, has gone up in the past year. So people are still coming here, but if they have a lot more options, and even hotels are a big competitor of the short-term people around here. And so they're throwing up tons, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of these new Airbnbs that all look the same, that all, are luxurious and nice and 4 stories, rooftop decks. Ask me how I know. I just built a half dozen of them myself, and I'm finding that they're not getting rented. Even the ones I've had for a while that aren't that stereotypical product, aren't renting as well. And those have hundreds of 5-star reviews. I'm a super host, all of that. So what we're seeing is just your typical supply and demand issue. Supply has gone up, demand hasn't gone up as fast. And so what that is forcing people like myself, and in different way forcing someone like yourself in the long-term rental game, is, all right, well, I can see the horizon. I can see that, at least I believe this, that we're in what they're calling an Airbnb bubble. And I think we are, because even in the 2008 recession, not all markets are hit the same, but it still was a bubble. And I think we're going to hit an Airbnb bubble because a lot of these people a year ago, year and a half ago, were spending way too much for these properties on a 4 or 5% interest rate. They were at like a 4 and a 5 cap. Well, when those mortgages get readjusted because they're commercial mortgages and they're not fixed, like you said, if interest rates stay where they are or they go up, these people are going to be underwater. And now what you're talking about is either the bank defaults on you or they do what's called a cash in refi. All of us investors love the cash out refi, but I think if people are liquid enough, they have to be liquid, that there's going to be a lot of cash in refis just to stay afloat, because the banks don't want these properties either. Like us as investors, we would love it for if the banks took them over, because the banks are just going to do a fire sale to get rid of that inventory. But I think it's in the best interest of the investor that they don't go bankrupt, and the banks that they don't hold on to all this stale inventory that they have to sell pennies on the dollar. I think it's in everybody's best interest. So I think banks, I talk to my banker almost every single day, and they are feeling the squeeze too. The bankers aren't the bad guys. They are feeling the squeeze of this as well. And it's hard for them to make money as well. So it's just the rules are changing, and we've got to pivot. We've got to change the way we approach this, because if we keep doing the same thing or saying, I've done Airbnbs forever and I've made so much money, and now that's starting to dry up. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. It sucks. But this is the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And so you could sell. I could offload some properties to an investor who wants to ride the Nashville wave, or wherever you're at. There's going to be people out there. They're not as common. We know a lot of people are fearful being on the sidelines, trying to stay as liquid as possible. So it is getting a little bit more difficult, not impossible. Or you can do what I do and pivot. And that's what I'm actually in the middle of doing right now, is pivoting to a couple different things. Midterm rentals is one thing. I know that space is also getting popular. I find if Bigger Pockets is pushing something over and over and over again, you might not want to do that, because people follow suit. And the short term and the midterm game have been pushed pretty heavily in the last few years. And I think that's another thing too.
Yeah.
Is me as someone who traditionally managed my own Airbnbs, because automation was pretty simple. My assistant took care of most of it. Now you're going up against property managers who that's their living, is to arbitrage and to really push being the best property manager and marketer really that they can be. So it's like, I'm going up now against people who are way smarter than me when it comes to marketing and managing these short-term rentals. So I can't say I'm the bee's knees, because I've been doing this so long and I've made good money off of it. It's just the competition is getting more fierce. They're, way smarter than me. So maybe even I hire a property manager, take that 20% gross hit and do that, or go to the midterm game, or very few things I know about marketing, but one thing I do know, being different is better than being better. So how do you differentiate yourself within the game? Is it different photos, different description, providing different experiences for people when they come to a place like Nashville? So there's a lot of things you can do, but if you're not in the right headspace and you're focused on the problem, rather than focus on what's the solution, and get yourself around like-minded people that are talking about these things and wanting to help each other grow and get better. If you're not doing that, and you're kind of just being fearful and you're hiding and you're staying within yourself, well, it's going to be a bumpy ride. And I do not recommend doing that. That's why Go back to the 80% psychology. It is all about the psychology, because the mechanics, everything will follow that.
And that's one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast is helping people to understand, you know, within good markets or bad markets, of helping them through the process of investing into real estate, whether you're going to be even a contractor who's flipping houses, or you're doing the short term, the long term, midterm game, whatever that may be, whatever markets you're in. I think that it's all about making sure that your attitude is set on where you are surrounding yourself, are listening to educate yourself on things that you need, so that you can work out through the bad times. Right now, I do feel that there's a big saturation within the market, is because there's a lot of investors right now that have also made that turn to pivot. And what I mean by that is, when you're negative cash flow on a lot of these long-term rentals, and one of your properties comes out with some vacancy, their mindset is say, okay, how do I generate more income to cover my negative cash flow without putting money into my more money into my down payments towards my mortgage, so I can bring down my interest and my mortgage payments every single month. What choices can I have made within my time frame to pivot? And a lot of what these investors are doing, and I'm finding, is that they are now pivoting to go into the short-term rental market. And now you've got this whole saturated market, and there's so much supply out there, and it's all about supply and demand. And I think that has created a significant damper in the Airbnb market. So probably not one of the best sectors to be focused in on right now. And sometimes you may want to say, okay, well, if the investment game, I'm in a short-term rental, I don't want to sell these properties. Airbnb is being very difficult. What other options are out there for somebody to want to start, doing, so that they can become at least cash positive, or not have to put these houses up for power sale or distress sale? And a lot of advice I've been giving is one, on my perspective, and I'll get you to chime in on that, is, if you have liquidity within your bank to put down towards that amount of mortgage that you currently have on the property, maybe just shortly increasing that amortization. So if you currently have been holding this property for 5 years and you had a 30-year amortization within your mortgage, maybe go speak to your lender to increase that amortization to a 30-year on a short-term basis, and put in a little bit more money down if you have some liquidity on there. What other suggestions would you give somebody right now who's in that situation?
Yeah. Well, it's as simple as cash flow in and cash flow out, right? So talking to your banker, like you had mentioned, and maybe changing your terms a little bit within your note. That's a great thing. If you're liquid, putting that, I know no one wants to
Nobody wants to
necessarily
really exactly
do that, but you got to think long term in this as well. And so, what are the things you can do to get higher rents? Like with a long term, you can only jack it up so much unless you're way under market, but then now you have to deal with tenant turnover, and anybody in the long term game knows that tenant turnover is the most important thing. And if you're already in the negative, you can lose a year's worth of profit, in the bat of an eye. And let's say an HVAC unit or something goes out on top of that. But in the short-term game or the midterm game, like I said earlier, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you provide something? Like, don't think, like, what I've been learning in the Airbnb space is you can't think of yourself like a long-term investor as far as long-term rentals go. You're not a landlord. What you're doing is you're a concierge service. So you're providing an experience for somebody. And once you start thinking like that, okay, how do I increase this person's experience? Like, I just can always go back to my market. People do come here for what Nashville has to offer: music, the bars, the sporting events, all the big concerts that happen here, the history. There's so many different things that people do to come here. But how can you enhance your space and differentiate yourself from somebody else? Maybe you do something as simple as find an Uber driver, pay him monthly, $250 a month, hire him, and say, you are on call for my guests when they come into town. They will pay you the same rate that you get paid, But when they call, you're picking them up, taking them downtown, taking them wherever, but they'll still pay your rate. But have somebody, a couple Uber drivers on retainer. Have something that's a little bit different at your rental, whether it's local wine, local food, some sort of insider ability to get tickets to some of these events that you can provide your guests with at face value, something like that. You know, think of ways you can differentiate yourself.
Maybe throw in a free dinner or something at a high-end restaurant or renowned restaurant, maybe within Nashville.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. There's so many iconic restaurants here now.
Exactly.
Provide that experience, provide the transportation, provide the comfort. So,
enjoying this episode? Subscribe to our channel and leave us a comment down below to let us know what you want to learn next. Make sure you're following our Instagram and TikTok to stay up to date on our new episodes every Friday.
I haven't told you this, but what I did at one of my units, and this is just launching right now. We just finished construction of the renovation. The direct booking site goes live literally this week. Is I turned one of my Airbnbs, I turned one of the bedrooms into a podcast studio. And so I'm not even reaching out to the normal Airbnb people at this point because we have this high-end equipment. The room is soundproofed. It's freaking beautiful. We spent a mint to get it done. Mm-hmm. However, what we're going to be pitching to is people like yourself, podcasters, creators, influencers, people that want to shoot 6 months of content in 3 days. How many podcast professionals do we know just within our circles that are a doctor, or, there's podcasts everywhere now. They could be a lawyer that have a podcast. Well, they have a W-2. They don't have time to shoot content day in and day out, but they need to market themselves. They need to market their company. They need to market their book, whatever they have out there. So if you could do that in a weekend and at the same time have all these amenities coming to you, a private chef, driving service, all of these things. And then you can also experience a place like Nashville and get creative inspiration, especially since this house is in East Nashville, which is like the creators area of Nashville in particular. It's like, we'll see what happens with this. Once again, when you pivot and you're doing something that no one else is doing, mm-hmm. you don't have anything to compare yourself to. So pivot, try something, throw some money into it. Like, it's all the things people don't want to do. They're like, well, I got into this game because I wanted a dozen rentals, or Bigger Pockets told me $200 a door for long-term rentals, or I only need 2 to 3 short-term rentals and I'm financially free. I've got that $5,000 to $7,000 passive income every month. And I just want to sit back, drink my martini, relax, and pat myself on the back and say, good job, man. You killed it. Well, that isn't reality. That isn't life, unless you have already made it. But if you're already making it, you don't live that kind of life anyways. Maybe for a day and you'll get bored and then you'll want to go on to the next project. So there isn't, it just goes back. There is no easy get rich quick scheme in anything you do. That's why you start every morning off doing whatever it is you do. Your morning rituals, your working out, your prayer, meditation, reading, journaling, whatever. Read Hal Elrod's Morning Miracle. You'll get everything you need from there. Just pick and choose what you need. Because once you start living a life like that and you have purpose behind it, I always talk about your why. What is your purpose, your mission for being here? That is going to keep the fire going, because you and I both know it's going to be a bumpy ride for a lot of people. So you better be mentally ready to take your licks, because I've been taking licks for the last 5 years and I'm going to be continuing to take my licks, get back up, and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I'm a big Billy. I've been reading. I don't know if you heard of her, Gabby Bernstein. Love her book. Love her podcast. My wife got me on and introduced me to her too as well, and she's been such an inspiration to my life as well, because having those morning routines, getting up with the right mindset, making sure of what you're putting out there within the universe, and I truly believe that if you're going to put out love and you're going to put out happiness and you're going to put out joy every day, don't worry about the obstacles that you're going to face within your life every single day. It's just continuously, how do you overcome those? How do you pivot? How do you become stronger? How do you develop new relationships with people that are going to create this wonderful experience and positivity around you that are going to help you get through life situations, whether they be financial or personal. Um, I'm in the process right now, and what we're finding as well within the real estate market, there is, and from because I'm in the front lines of it all, and I
Right.
hear people calling me on a constant basis, wanting to, what do I do? Do I sell my house, my primary residence where it? I sell my investment properties. Work is being very slow. We haven't seen contracting work here in Toronto because our market really thrives on real estate here. That's kind of our main sub for producing and getting our economy flowing. And it feeds off so many different channels within our sector, but real estate is huge. Or do I sell my investment properties because I don't have any work and I can't afford to make those payments and I'm negative cash flow on it, and I'm helping them through those struggles, right? And these are the issues that we face currently. And if these interest rates, and as I continued early on in the show, continue to rise, I think with those, it creates even more further obstacles where people really, within their marriages, within their relationships, whether they have within their family members or friends, really takes a toll on them. And then sometimes certain people can move into a very dark place, and which is nobody ever wants that. And how to overcome that, I think, is making sure that you work on yourself every single day, like you mentioned, where you're getting up every day and finding a routine that works for you. Whether that be exercise, meditation has become such a big focal point for me, and I find that it's been helping me really start my days off really great. And I notice that the signs that are given to me from the universe, and I look for these little signs that happen every day, and I'm like, wow, it's actually real and it actually works. And I think your book is a testament to that, and your mindset is really really powerful to the point where you really help people sharing that. And I thank you for that, and it's important that we continue to share that message to people that are going through these difficulties.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And to be completely honest, every day I don't kill it. There are days that I do struggle as well. This is real. The things we go through in life are real. But the sooner we get out of our own way and we stay consistent with taking care of ourselves every morning, every day, every weekend, and just get out of our own heads and really give ourselves grace, because what we're doing, most people that jump into the real estate game are people that are very motivated. They're very hardworking. They're smart people and they're determined. But we could also be our worst enemy. And I would be lying if I didn't tell you that there are some days that I am my own worst enemy and I don't feel motivated and I am frustrated and I am upset. But that's when your community, your family, or the people within your network, the professional network too, like that's where you can go to and be able to get filled with love and support and all of those things when sometimes you just don't feel like giving it. But I would also say that we can definitely train ourselves in those times of weakness, those moments of fear and upset, or the negative talk in my own head. Those days are fewer and farther in between because they will come up, but I don't let them control me anymore. I will, if I'm feeling lethargic, freaking turn on that shower and jump in some ice cold water, because I know neurologically that's going to change my focus. That's going to change my physiology. I'm going to get that rush of adrenaline, that dopamine release in good, healthy amounts. And that is going to completely flip the script on my day. And you know what? Sometimes those cold showers don't work. So I go outside and I take a walk.
Yes.
There's so many different things you can do, but as long as you have these tools and you've wired yourself to do these things, then yes, you will still have the hard days. Yes, you will still have the second guessing at time to time, but you've built this muscle and it doesn't last as long. You're able to flip that switch a lot quicker and a lot faster. And just like you too, I just recently, within the last 6 months, started to incorporate a meditation practice in my day. And that has just taken things to a totally different level, because that is so different. I'm big David Goggins, gung ho, like physical fitness and physical pain and all of that. But the meditation is such a different way of doing things. And it's so amazing. So finding out what works for you, trying different things out, and then incorporating that. Even a 5-minute meditation is better than no meditation at all.
Even a 5-minute appreciation meditation, just to appreciate everything that you got around you. A great being grateful meditation, right? There's so many out there, and there's so many that I could recommend, but it's so important for people.
Oh yeah.
So I wish more people do it, and I'm trying to get my kids to get on it. My wife introduced me to all this, and I'm blessed and grateful and very appreciative to have her within my life. She's always looking to allow herself to try to get better, and she's brought it upon me. And I love my days today. I love what I was doing. Sometimes, because when you're dealing in the business of what I'm in, and you're dealing with a lot of people every single day, and sometimes where their mindset is not really there, sometimes it can rub off on you, and it can throw you out of balance. And making sure that you keep your alignment straight to focus in on what's important for you every single day, and allowing yourself and your happiness to be number one, and not letting anybody affect that, is what was something that I was really struggling with early on within my success, or my building my business, to the point where it was always about, when I was slow, I was worried, I was fearful, I was stressed. When I was busy, I was stressed and just working within my environment, and not really appreciating and losing that time, especially with my loved ones, my family members, right? And just focusing on the money and growing and succeeding. And now it's become a little different of a focal point for myself, where when I'm slow or business is not there, I know that the universe and it will and I'll just talk to the universe right now and say, I believe in what you're providing me right now is going to be going to come with a lot of abundance. I will wait to be patient for that abundance, and when you are ready to provide that for me, I will be appreciative for it and deserve it, and I know it's coming. And that's kind of how I train my mind to make sure that I know exactly how I should live my life every day, and just enjoy that moment at that time I'm in, because I truly believe if I was meant to be slow, I'm meant to be slow for a reason. And that's maybe to spend more time with my wife, or that's telling me to spend more time with my parents, or spend more time with my kids, or just, do things for myself that will allow me the nourishment to have and enjoy all the hard work that I've put into my business, right? And take a little bit of that back and go live a little bit, right? And those are things that I grew to start overcoming within my life right now. And I used to worry about the next deal, or what the other real estate agent was doing, and used to get upset about, oh, why am I, losing market share within this marketplace within there. And now it's, hey, I look at it as there's enough to go around for everybody, and everybody deserves to have that success, and I'm busy. So yeah, and there's something that I've grown to a lot of many obstacles that I've grown to overcome, right?
Yeah. Well, I always had the meaning that I put to my life that working hard equaled success.
Correct.
But when you have a rule like that you live by, the opposite of it is true as well. So if I'm not working hard, I'm not succeeding. And so you talk about keeping busy, work hard, get that success. But then when things slow down, you would get worried, stressed, frustrated.
Correct.
Because now that you're not working hard, that equates, and usually it's subconscious. We're not even conscious of this, but my rule was, yes, if I'm not working 12 hours a day, 6 to sometimes 7 hours a week, then I'm not going to be successful. And what that did was just put me in this repetitive cycle of go, 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 go. It's better to keep busy. And then it's like, no, I need to focus on 1, 2, maybe 3 things a day that are going to move the needle the most, It's not going to take up all my day. It's not going to take up all my time. Everything else I can delegate to a VA or an assistant. I have both, and they're happy. They're working. They're making money. They're providing for their family. But it also allows me to focus on coming to shows like yours, or starting the next draft of my new book, the things that really are going to make an impact, the things that are really going to change people's lives. Not, hey, I got my taxes are due tomorrow, which, by the way, they are. Well, I've already got people covering that, so I don't need to worry about that. And so I love how just from that meditative practice, it didn't change you, it transformed you. It transformed your beliefs of how life should and has to operate. And when you start changing those fundamental beliefs, then your whole existence changes. And it's an incredible thing. In meditation, prayer also is really good at it.
Huge.
Those things transform you and transform your life.
And it allows you to attract the important things that you should be focusing on every day, and remove all that negativity and just focusing on attracting a lot of positivity within your life. And prayer and meditation, will be a huge focal point to release everything that's getting clogged within your mind. And I'm talking to this because through my success as and all the hard work and hustle that I put in, a lot of times I was mentally clogged inside my mind. And it came to the point where a lot of times I was having conversations with one of my son, and he's talking to me, but I'm so focused in on what my next tasks are, what I got to do for that evening or that night, or what deal I got to work on, or what client I got to call. And there was a thousand things going through my head, and I'm not even listening to a word he's saying. So, it came to the point, I was like, I'm so sorry. I used to get his head, look at him in the eyes and say, okay, I'm good. You got 100% of my attention where I need to focus on you. And I didn't want to become that moment. I didn't want to be that person. It's like, I wanted to be in that moment and in being appreciative for that conversation that I'm able to have with my son or my daughter at that moment, or my wife for that matter, or anybody for that particular. It's like, be in tune to what's being given around you, and just focusing on that. And that's been a real big successful change within my success. And it doesn't come easy. I know that there's a lot of young, inspiring real estate entrepreneurs, and I'll speak from my sector of it, that are really just out there making sure that they're making their calls every single day and they're plugging away. And I think there is a very good component to that, especially when you don't have the relationships and it takes time to build a brand. And marketing, as you know, is a very crucial component in any business, and being on social media and having these podcasts. There's a lot of hard work that you have to get through if you want to become, a team leader or a broker for any business, or you want to get into fix and flips and all that stuff. And pushing, was a huge factor. But don't forget to take the time for yourself. And that's kind of my best advice I would be able to give somebody who's looking at really start striving to become very successful. And that's what, this is about, and sharing. And glad to have you to come on the show to help share your experiences as well. Because, great minds think alike. I believe things are meant to be, and speaking to you is definitely part of destiny, where, we are going to be learning from human beings, no matter where they are all over the world. And I think that is where life becomes really great, and from my perspective.
I couldn't agree with you more. Like, the good times are good, and the good times can be easy, and you can hustle and bustle, and life is fun. The game is fun. Real estate is fun. And you know what? Times like this, when you have to pivot and there's unknowns and things kind of get they can be a little scary. You gotta change your mindset and say, okay, well, how do I find the fun in this? How do I find the excitement in this?
Right.
And like you said, whether times are good or times are bad, at the end of the day, we ain't going to take any of this with us. So what were the memories that you created? What are the experiences that you had? And how did you impact other people's lives that are going to live on well past you? That's what the important parts of life are. And you know what? Real estate does afford that possibility to have extra income, to have passive income, so that you can spend more time in that. But what do they always say? Like, somebody who's not willing to give $1 that makes $10 isn't going to be willing to give $10,000 when they make $100,000. And so you got to figure out what kind of mindset you're going to live in, who you're going to be, and how you're going to live your life, because it doesn't matter if it's a pivot time like it is now, or it's a gold rush time like it has been for the last 15 years. The environment's changing, but you will never change unless you transform and change yourself. And that's a within job. That's not an external job.
100%. And I think, moving forward, whether the real estate market gets a little bit worse, interest rates do continue to rise. Maybe sometimes situations become a little bit more difficult. I think right now it's very imperative, and love having this conversation with you, Ace, because it's always a pleasure to share. It's just making sure that, hey, no matter what situation you're in, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and there are brighter days. Yep. And I truly believe that is also going to take place within the real estate market, that whatever goes down will go up, whatever goes up will come down. This is just a cycle of the real estate market. There's been a lot of great opportunities that have taken place. Now we're in this situation, when this market, look at the positive side of things, when this market does turn and interest rates will come back down, there are going to be a lot more opportunities for you to start creating some wonderful wealth, generational wealth, if you are ready and focused for that, and surrounding yourself with the right team. That'll get you through the process. And I think, get ready, because when it does start to turn over, you're just going to be really ready for it, or get yourself ready for it, because there's going to be some wonderful opportunities. And I think there's brighter days to come for sure. You just got to hold on to your properties if you can. I'm a big believer in not selling anything, right? And if there are ways of pivoting and finding ways to generate extra income, or working, with your bank, or just figuring out some different options that you can have, and maybe refinancing on the deal. I think there are definitely brighter days to come, and I think it's gonna be good. So. And I'm sure you guys within the American, listen, you guys sneeze, we get sick. So whatever happens there, we're gonna just kind of reciprocate from whatever's happening within the States. Your rates go up, we follow suit. Most likely our rates are going up. So it is what it is. But Ace, thank you for coming on the show again. You have been wonderful. I'm sure that we are definitely going to be able to connect another time within the future. I would love to get a copy of your book, Superhero by Design. If there's a way I can get a copy of it, we'll love that. Maybe I'll send you my address. You can send me over a book. And we'll definitely enjoy that read as well.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. Definitely send me your address. And for everybody listening, if they go to my website, superherobydesign.com, I think it's only up for about another month or so at the most. I have, you just put in your name and your email address. I think that's all it asks for. And you get a free copy of the ebook version of it. So for everybody listening, Superhero by Design, you could also find the podcast there. And I will be starting a Superhero by Design community here within the next couple of weeks as well. So keep that in mind, because the communities I'm a part of in this realm, whether they're real estate related or not, has been a huge part of my success, a huge part of my growth and ability to do what I do. And so I want to give that back and create that community as well, of people that are just bettering themselves and helping each other out. So just wanted to share that real quick as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I look forward to that read. Look forward to continue listening to your podcast. I think it's great. I think you're doing a great job. And I just wish you all the best of success moving forward, no matter what obstacles you may face. I know you have the right mindset just to get through it all. So I'm very positive on that. So thank you for coming on again. And it's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you too. Take care.
Looking to buy or sell? Call a team you can trust. Don't believe me? Our Google reviews say it all. Put us on your lawn, your house will be gone. TheOPteam.com.